In this episode, you'll discover how a trade landscaper closed a $63,000 sale in the first week after making 3 quoting improvements. Welcome to Sales Growth Made Simple, the show helping 7 to 8 figure trade, construction and industry sales and business leaders finally end the stress of inconsistent sales by simplifying your sales systems so your team can close more deals and grow faster. I'm your host, Ben Wright, a leader who has been building businesses and sales teams just like you for the last 20 years. You'll often hear me talk about the small things that we can do to impact our sales for big results over time. And in fact, everything I do across all of my programs is focused on simplicity. It's why the podcast name has that word in there, simple, because for me, great sales progress and great results don't need to be complex. We don't need to make sales seem like it's a profession that needs a master's or a PhD degree, but instead it's a function or a profession where, just like anything, we can make small, regular improvements that can really move the dial in terms of our results. And the example today is one of those, where we have a trade landscaper who closed a $63,000 sale by making 3 simple improvements to their quoting process. We're going to go through those, and from today, I'd love it if you can take something, a small piece of inspiration that will help you close more deals in your business. Okay, so what did this landscaper do? And I'll paint the picture here. This is a very young trade landscaping business. He's a guy that is ready to work hard. Like most people that come into our programs, they're ready to work hard and really want to grow. But I think above everything else is he's super open to listening and learning. Super open to doing things differently. He's got his own opinions, his own ways of doing things. He doesn't necessarily take every bit of advice that we pass through. But the reason that he was able to make these changes quickly is because he was ready and willing to get some help. And look, for me at 43, I still absolutely get help with what I'm doing. And I've been doing this a really long time, right? Not as long as those who have got a decade on me, but I'm 25 years in sales and I still look for people to help me. So I think that's really important, a really important note to add here as to how he's been able to improve his business through this process. Okay, but let's get into the 3 things that he did for his quoting that really helped him grow. Okay, number 1 is he built a quote template that was more than just a 0 invoice dump. I've spoken about this before across the last 3 or 4 episodes. It's come up, right? He stopped having his quotes be 1 page. And in fact, he actually had 2 or 3 pages in his quote before we started, but they were very mechanical, didn't necessarily tell a really strong story to his customers about what their gardens could look like once his team had finished, right? The aspirational journey wasn't there, that storytelling, that, hey, let's get really excited about what we're going to do. So what he did was he took that quote, he listened to some advice that I gave him and expanded it into a great product that told stories and really engaged with his customers around what they could do once they'd finished working with him. So that was number 1. He took his quote from a 0 invoice dump or a couple of pages to one that really told a great story. Second thing he did was he really made sure that he personalized the quote. Now, I think the important piece to say here is it's not necessarily about the output around the words on the page here, but it's more about making sure that when he was in front of customers, he was getting really clear on what they needed from their project. What was their signature piece, the most important part of the project? What were the nice to haves, things that they'd really like to have? If they were looking to put in a pool, was the signature piece that pool needed to be a particular type of water, or that it was in a position where it had sun all day, or it had a really blue water, right? A lot of pools you'll see they have that slight green tinge and it's not the water, it's the covering down the bottom. Right, so what was the most important part of that pool? Or in some instances, just having a pool might be the signature piece. And then what were the nice to haves? Right, the type of fencing, the type of grass, the type of landscaping around the pool, because certainly you can have big variations in costing there. Right, but by understanding exactly what the customer wanted, he was able to then personalize one of the pages of the quote. Here's what you asked for, here's what you're getting. Here's what you asked for, here's what you're getting. So that's the second thing that he did. The third thing is that he got really focused around presenting his quotes face to face. And there's a couple of really unique things that he did around how he presented the quotes, but I think the most impactful piece to say is that quotes were not just emailed through, but they were sent across face to face. Made a really big difference to his close rates, right? And at the end of the day, closed a great sale 1 week in that having a conversation with him, he wasn't sure he would have closed that sale without those changes. And I think that's the really important part here, is that when we can take quotes from, gee, I'm not so sure if I'm going to close them, to getting them done, they're the types of small improvements that we want to be getting from improving our sales processes. So 3 things that this landscaper did to make that $63,000 sale. Number 1 was build a quote template that was more than just a data dump. Second thing was to really personalize the front page and make sure that he was lining up what he was offering with what the customer actually wanted. And the third thing was all about presenting the quotes face-to-face, getting back in front of them, getting the deal done. Yes, you can say that takes more time, but there's also things you can do to save yourself time, right? And have your net time spent on quotes to be very similar to what you were previously by adding in that face-to-face meeting. Small changes, big impact on this business. And I think it very much follows that 1% better approach. Try and make progress over perfection. But for me, out of today, have a think about something in there that you might be able to roll out with your business. I'd say if I had to pick one, I'd find it really hard, because across the 3 businesses, I think all 3 of those could be ones that your business could look at improving or sharpening the axe on. We're dropping episodes every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. This was short, sharp and punchy today. That's it for today. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now. Are you frustrated spending hours of wasted time on sales quotes that you keep losing? Without changing something now, you'll continue to get these same stressful results over and over again. My free quote audit will pinpoint exactly why you're not winning more jobs and what you need to do to increase your close rates quickly. Click the free quote audit link in the show notes to get started now.